Approaches to understand ecology. Unit structure. 12 objectives. 12.1 Introduction. 12.2 Ecology. 12.3 Ecosystem. 12.4 Anthropocentrism. 12.5 Biocentrism. 12.6 Ecocentrism. 12.7 Ecofeminism. 12.8 Deep Ecology. 12.9 Summary. And 12.10 unit end questions. So we start with the introduction. Although there is a common understanding about the nature and environment around us, the perceptions of the same differs in large extent. Religious perception may be resource oriented, while the society may see to its utility. Similarly, an academician may see to it purely in terms of its structure, functioning, and system. These approaches to learn ecology, nature of environment, may not be wrong, but they are certainly not cohesive and complete. It is therefore worth to understand ecology in different perspectives in order to get its cohesive and complete depiction. Ecology. Ecology is the study of interrelation between abiotic and biotic things in the given region. Ecology has hierarchical setup. It can be studied at micro as well as macro level. In fact, microecology becomes a part of macroecology. Example, one single tree has its own ecosystem, while the same tree becomes a part of larger ecosystem of the forest in which it is situated. We move on to study of an ecosystem. Scientists studying ecosystems are called ecologists. Ecologists study the interrelations between the biotic and biotic factors and try to understand the degree of this relationship. They also study the problems and the issues related to functioning and survival of ecosystems. Ecologists are concerned with land, sea, and water ecologies. They work at different levels like community level, population level, and biome level. Ecologists may also focus on specific ecosystem like forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, pond ecosystem, marine ecosystem, and alike. There are different approaches to study the ecosystem, and ecologists divide widely in their focus and approaches. In fact, the philosophical development in the field of ecology has put forth the diverse viewpoints in the study of ecosystem/ecology. There are predominantly 5 dimensions or approaches to study ecology. Every approach has its own perspective. Their different perspectives make the concept ecology sufficiently rich to adopt its best at the end. 5 approaches to understand ecology are anthropocentrism, biocentrism, ecocentrism, ecofeminism, and deep ecology. Anthropocentrism. Anthropocentrism is a human-centric approach. Ecologists, particularly in Western world, adopting this approach, keep human race at the center. It is like of the humans, by the humans, and for the humans. Ideology of dealing with ecology. Here, ecological existence is considered in terms of its utility to humans. Important features of this approach are: first, human beings are considered to be at center or most significant in the universe. Second, many Western philosophers consider humans as a separate and superior entity in nature. Third, other resources, animals, plants, and minerals, etc., may justifiably exploited by humans not just as a chance but as a right for the benefit of mankind. This approach, however, is not acceptable on number of counts. Main critics on this approach are: first, this approach is formulated from human perspective only, and this may not be the only reality. Second, ecology cannot be considered only in terms of its usefulness to humans, it's rather a selfish attitude. Third, This approach ignores the value of every aspect of ecology/universe. Fourth, perspective to understand ecology and its very purpose of existence beyond human perception is ignored. However, there is also one view that threat perceived due to humans' actions and projections of damage made by humans are not realistic. It is also believed that there is nothing wrong to consider human at center as humans only, with their ability and technological assistance have a capacity to restore ecological damages. Humans can restore not only the ecology of the earth but also understand the universe in wider perspective. So I'll tell you guys how to spell anthropocentrism. It's ANTHROPOCENTRISM. Anthropocentrism. Biocentrism. Humans are a part of environment and not apart from environment. This is a key view behind the term biocentrism. Biocentrism stands in contrast to anthropocentrism. The modern thinking now deviates from the human-centric anthropocentrism. In fact, the affinity, awareness and better understanding of nature by the man have led to new approach to study ecosystem as biocentrism. In biocentrism, the entire nature is respected and inherent worth of each and every species, including human, regardless of its uses and hierarchy is valued. Biocentrism Biocentrism does not believe in any order of hierarchy, and organisms and humans are considered as part of a species. Biocentrism denies the so-called moral and ethical superiority of human. Biocentrism further states that each organism, small or big, has a purpose and a reason for its existence. Every organism plays some or other role which is good, valuable, essential and inevitable. This approach is well received by many ecologists. The very concept of the conservation of nature, preservation of the biodiversity, animal rights and environmental protections have emerged from the acceptance of biocentrism. Important features of this approach are: first, it is nature or earth-centered. Second, it extends values to the plants and animal species, natural resources, ecosystem and process of the nature beyond their relevance or importance to mankind. Third, humans are members of a community of life on equal terms with all other species in ecology. Fourth, there is interdependence between all members of species. Fifth, every organism has a purpose and a reason for being which is inherently good or valuable. Sixth, humans are not superior to other species. We move on to ecocentrism. This approach to understand ecology is also nature-centered. Ecocentrism believes that there is hardly any difference or division between human and non-human. It further believes in equality among human and non-human organisms with their internal association. But it does not agree on equal value of all organisms. Ecocentrism argued that humans were important beyond doubts, but more than that, the ecosphere as a whole is more significant, inclusive and integrated. Ecocentrism expresses that overall ecosphere is vast beyond the imagination of human. Ecocentrism is also a wider concept and goes beyond the biocentrism. It believes that humans are part and parcel of entire organic and inorganic, that is, biotic or abiotic nature. The concept ecocentrism states that all species on Earth are part of the common and only process of evolution, and their life cycle are interrelated. Ecocentrism lacks the faith in modern technology and red tape attitude of managing ecology. Egocentrism argues that nature has its own process and products. Important features of this approach are: nature is of prime importance and it is a nature centered system of values. Second, entire ecosystem is very vast beyond the comprehension of human. Third, there is equity among all organisms and humans are part of it. Fourth, it is described as fundamental shift in values of human being to planet Earth. Fifth, it targets human for his contribution to environmental degradation. Sixth, it states that all species, including humans, are the product of long evolutionary process and are interrelated in their life processes. 7. Ecocentrism strives to maintain ecosystem composition and ecological processes. Ecocentric view does not support the traditional consumptive and sourcefulness of the nature. Ecocentrism states that environmental health is beyond the comparison with economic gain. However, critics of egocentrism believe that this approach is totally anti-human. We move on to ecofeminism. This approach has a root in feminist movement. Feminism believes that the mentality, psychology, and attitude towards both oppression of women and abuse of the environment are same. And therefore, the principal philosophy behind ecofeminism states that male dominant culture make the assessment of nature, trees, animal, and land only by its economic value and contribution to GDP. Further, ecofeminism believes that degradation of nature in any region leads to degradation of women. It is claimed that women have better knowledge of the ecological processes and have a deep connection with the environment due to regular interaction while fetching several resources including water. Ecofeminism also believes that consumption of the resources like food, wood, minerals that has traveled thousands of kilometers is not tenable on any account. This is abuse of ability as well as robbery of ecology. Similarly, development of landscape gardens and ecotourism lead to ecological destruction. Important features of this approach are: first, it is believed that caring nature and women are synonymous actions. The more you care and treat women equally, the more you protect nature. Second, women acquire the knowledge of land or soil conditions, water and other environmental features in much way better than male counterpart. Third, women are excluded from policy decisions of development despite their better understanding of the nature. Fourth, ecofeminists insist on cooperation, mutual benefits, respect, love, and care as the foundation of ecological, just, fair, and sustainable alternatives. Fifth, women are responsible for the production and reproduction of life and therefore needs to be directly concerned with preserving environmental integrity to ensure food security, water safety, along with healthy environment for their children and family. Sixth, ecofeminist holds industrialization responsible for toxicities of land and water bodies that directly affect women's health. 7. As social movement, they have involved in social struggle against mega dam projects, example Narmada Bachao Andolan, nuclear power plants, example Jaitapur, agro-business deforestation, example Chipko movement, and toxic waste dumps. Ecofeminism is criticized by the view that if this approach is one-sided and partial to women, critics believe that analogy of women with nature is too idealistic to accept and thus deviates from the realistic conditions. It is also argued that very gender equality is ignored by ecofeminism, which is otherwise a common expectation in normal circumstances. It is further expected that gender equality is a relevant factor in accessing and controlling natural resources for social justice. We move on to deep ecology. Deep ecology states that every organism in the living environment has the same right to live and flourish. The very concept of deep ecology is related to answering deeper questions like how should we live, why is the environmental protections must, what is the level of interdependence among biotic and abiotic factors of ecology, where does human stand in biotic community, etc. Deep ecology concept focuses on the deep commitment to the environment. Deep ecology provides guidelines for human activity. Important features of this approach are: first, the well-being and flourishing of human and non-human life of Earth is interrelated. Further, the infinite value of both human and non-human is independent of their usefulness to each other. Second, planet Earth has rich diversity of plants and animals living in different habitats, and they depend on each other for their survival. Richness and diversity of the life forms contribute to the recognition of these values. Third, deep ecology concentrates on causes of the environmental problems rather than simply responding to the symptoms of the problems. Fourth, humans have no right to reduce richness and diversity except to satisfy vital human needs. Fifth, the flourishing of the human life and cultures is well matched with the substantial decrease of the human population. The flourishing of non-human life also requires such population control. Sixth, present human interference with the non-human world is excessive and the situation is rapidly worsening. 7. Policies affecting the basic economic, technology, and ideological structures must be changed. The resulting state of affairs will be deeply different from the present. 8. The ideological change is mainly that of the appreciating life quality rather than adhering to an increasingly higher standard of living. Summary. From the above discussion, it is clear that ecology as a whole is very base and foundation not only for the mankind but also for the entire system. It is a huge concept every beyond human comprehension, and hence ecology must be cherished.
Environmental ethics and ecological principles. Unit structure. 13.0 Objective. 13.1 Environmental ethics meaning. 13.2 Libertarian view. 13.3 Ecological view. 13.4 Conservation view. 13.5 Eco spirituality. 13.6 Sustainability and polluter-pays principle. 13.7 Principle of fair carbon share. 13.8 Summary. 13.9 Unit End questions. 13.0 Objective. After studying the unit, you will be able to know the meaning of environmental ethics, to be acquainted with different kinds of views of environmental ethics, to understand the concept of principle of fair carbon share. 13.1 Environmental ethics meaning. Ethics is a part of philosophy and guides us to follow a righteous path which is in the larger interest of the society as a whole. Environmental ethics is related to environmental philosophy and defines what is right and wrong at ecological level. It is more of a moral binding than a legal compulsion. Practicing environmental ethics is therefore left to an individual. The outcome of such practices is always par excellence since it comes from voluntarily and hence with dedication. Educating today's youth thus becomes more significant in order to achieve expected outcome. Religious school of thought was the first philosophical ground to advocate environmental ethics. Every religion has strongly asked its followers to respect rivers, animals, and ecology nearby. Modern philosophy on environmental ethics has evolved in the second half of 20th century. Population explosion, environmental degradation, resource crisis, etc. problems drew the attention towards the environmental concerns. However, it also raised some challenges while deciding the environmental ethics in contemporary situation. Disparity among society, nations, and region, basic right to procure the resources for daily livelihood, rights to access to resources, etc. were the key challenges in designing environmental ethics. This has led to different views on environmental ethics, and this also led to formulation of different approaches on it. There are primarily three views on environmental ethics. 1. Libertarian view. 2. Ecological view. 3. Conservation view. 13.2. Libertarian view. This view is correlated to the principle of civil liberty. As civil liberty follows the commitment to equal rights to every member of community, development of an ethics to deal with men's relationship with land, animal, and plant is absolutely essential. Social conscience from people to land and nature to equally inevitable. It is not right to see the natural world simply in the terms of its economic worth to humans. Equal rights or liberty to all human and non-human members in the environment is the principal doctrine of libertarian view. Check your progress. Question 1. What do you mean by the concept environmental ethics? Question 2. How are principles of civil liberty and environmental liberty correlated? 13.3. Ecological view. Ecological view demonstrates ecological functioning. On ethical ground, it is believed that Earth has its own mechanism for functioning, growth, and development. Nature has its own purification processes and recovery systems of life even in most adverse conditions. Moreover, it is believed that whenever the climatic change had taken place, it took place within a very narrow range of region to enable the life to recover before it gets totally destroyed. This theory is in contrast to Darwinian idea of survival of the fittest. In support of this view, ecologists argue that there are many types of algae that are resistant to ultraviolet radiation, and life would continue and new life would evolve even if the ultraviolet radiation possesses the threat to the life on the earth. This theory wants humans to change their perceptions and see them as a part of a whole system. However, later it was considered that as the global temperature rises higher and higher, there are more climatic disasters. The planet may not be able to recover as it was previously thought. The 3-degree rise in global temperature, the rainforest will start to die and release new amounts of carbon dioxide. In the oceans, the algae will fail and start to absorb carbon. It is therefore necessary to recognize fundamental interdependence of all biological and abiological entities. Check your progress. Question 1. What mechanism does ecology have to minimize environmental damage? 13.4. Conservation ethic. Conservation ethic is an extension of instrumental value to the natural environment. It focuses only on the work of environment in the terms of its utility and usefulness to humans. Conservation is the oldest form of ethic that led to creation of national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, responsible use of non-renewable energy resources, water conservation efforts. Conservation is therefore a means to an end and purely concerned with mankind and his future generations. Most of the international treaties are outlined as consequences of this ethic. Check your progress. Question 1. How is conservation ethic related to human-centric approach? 13.5. Eco-spirituality. While policymakers negotiation and create cleaner solutions, it is important to heal the earth, and its process heals us. It should be guided by spiritual principle that ensures long-term sustainability. The idea that faith can be used to save ecology was first used by formation of worldwide fund by nature. Eco-spiritualism was later extended up to 5 major world religions: Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islamic, and Judaism. Each religion thus provided spiritual motivation for environmental action in number of its program. Go Green has become ritual across the world. Check your progress. Question 1. How are religions helpful in protecting environment? 13.6. Sustainability and polluter pays principle. Due to globalization, several multinational companies have established their branches all over the world. National borders are becoming less important as markets stretch across them. Our multinationals have taken advantage of this. Globalization also brings problems, especially those of justice toward poorer countries. The disaster at Bhopal in India is prime example. Companies concerned continued to deny responsibility for a long time, and some survivors still await compensation. toxic waste still pollutes the environment. The emergence of the conservation movement in the late 19th century and later development in environmentalism as a social and political force has been the primary catalyst for the development of environmental laws. Although sustainability may not be represented in law to a great degree, several multinational and national companies have formulated their sustainability programs and are voluntarily coming forward for clean technologies, renewable energy sources, to develop regulation for protection of wetlands, mountains, and other ecosystems, environmental educations, and awareness programs. Many management and environmental law colleges are offering courses in sustainability and provide education in sustainable management practices, environmental justice, energy resource law, water law, ocean resources law, etc. The polluter pays principle is a popular concept which means that if a company or person causes pollution, he is liable to clean it up and pay for it. The cost of causing damage to the environment is decided by the authorities and borne by the polluter. The polluter pays principle as a means for allocating cost of pollution prevention and control measure. The Supreme Court of India ruled the polluter pays principle means that absolute liability of harm to the environment extends not only to the compensate the victim of pollutions, but also to the cost of reducing environmental degradation. Salient features of this principle. 1. It has become a significant element of environmental law in much of the world. 2. Principle 16 of the Rio Declaration on Environment and Development affirms the principle. 3. The polluter pays principle states that whoever responsible for damage to the environment should bear the cost associated with it. 4. Polluter pays principle states that party responsible for producing pollution is responsible for paying for the damage done to the environment. 5. It is the underlying principle of green taxes that balances the negative externalities of environmentally harmful activity. The revenue generated can be used to remedy those externalities. For example, carbon taxes, taxes on hazardous waste, taxes on dumping of solid waste, etc. are examples of green taxes. Check your progress. Question 1. What do you understand by the concept polluter pays principle? 13.7. Principle of fair carbon share. The air is precious and life on earth cannot exist without it. The normal composition of dry air contains approximately 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and very small amount of 0.032% carbon dioxide, along with traces of other gases. The earth is neither hot nor cold. The thick veil of gases, known as atmosphere, filters out the harmful ultraviolet radiations and allows only certain amount of radiations to reach Earth's surface. For millions of the years, temperature of the troposphere remained almost steady forever. In the post-industrial era, due to enormous burning of the fossil fuel like the coal and petroleum products, large amount of the carbon dioxide in the air has increased. Excess amounts of greenhouse gases, GHGs, have potential for trapping more heat and thus have more potential for global warming. Current atmospheric GHG level is so high that if immediate action is to reduce these emissions is not taken, there will be a climate crisis, which will cause permanent damages to the environment. Climate change is a matter of global concern. The Earth's atmosphere is considered as common space, shared by all nations in the world for their mission. Both the developing and developed nations have to decide their share of atmospheric carbon space. The limitations on the use of this common space are a limitation on the availability of the atmosphere has a sink for GHG emission. The Kyoto Protocol. The Kyoto Protocol is the first international agreement linked to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. It sets binding targets for 37 industrialized countries and the European Community for reducing greenhouse gases GHG emissions. Carbon budget approach. Since the Kyoto Protocol was not successful in controlling GHG emission by the various countries, carbon budget approach is based on the principle of equity is advocated during international climate change agreements. The world has a limited atmospheric space and hence a definite carbon budget within which it has to live if it is to limit global temperature rise. Carbon budget specifies more clearly that the world has a whole needs to do to limit the global average temperature rise to below 2 degrees Celsius. The carbon budget will allow fixed emissions of carbon GHGs in atmosphere. It is proposed that while allotting the carbon budget for different countries, three aspects must be considered. A. Immediate action to control climate change. B. The necessity of development projects for human progress. C. The right to equal amount of energy availability per capita for all human beings in the developed as well as developing nations. Emissions of developed countries have stabilized while those of developing countries are growing as they progress. Because of this legacy of historical emissions, developed nations have already utilized their share of carbon space, and if their donor take immediate action to cut down their emissions, the carbon space available to the developing countries will be greatly reduced. Therefore, it is necessary to consider not only the present emission of GHGs, but the stocks of GHGs, especially long-lasting carbon dioxide, which keeps accumulating in the atmosphere while allocation of the carbon rights. Thus, developed countries to continue their occupation of atmospheric carbon and shift much of the burden of emission reduction on the developing countries. The global debate over fair share of carbon space is a struggle for climatic justice and right to equity. Multilateral environmental agreements have been signed to share the responsibility of the environmental cleanup actions. The atmosphere has been utilized as the common space for emission of all pollutants. As a result, there is a continuous debate over fair share of carbon space. 13.8 Summary. It is at most important to practice environmental ethics in order to ensure its safety and protection of the interests of coming generations. 13.9 Unit N Questions. Question 1. Write a detailed note on environmental ethics. Question 2. Write on core ecological principles. Question 3. What is polluter-pays principle? How is it useful in protecting environment? Question 4. What are the global efforts in bringing down carbon emission? Question 5. Comment on carbon budget approach to control carbon emission.